Silver and black faithful, what a wild ride we're in for today. Buckle up because the news cycle hasn't slowed down for a second, and this morning's headline was enough to shake up the entire fan base. George Pickens is on the move. That's right, the talented but often controversial wide receiver has officially been traded. And while neither of the teams involved is our beloved Raiders, the ripple effects of this deal are impossible to ignore. In fact, I'll explain how this trade could influence the Raiders in two major ways, both of which may have long-term consequences. Plus, right after this deal, our front office had to pivot quickly and make a move of their own. I'll tell you exactly what that was and why it matters more than people realize. Before we dive into the mechanics of the trade, I have to admit something. This one hit like a thunderclap. I was up late, and somewhere between midnight and 1 in the morning, I started hearing whispers that a deal was imminent. When I woke up, there it was, confirmed. George Pickens had been traded. The Steelers sent him off to the Dallas Cowboys. And in return, they picked up a third-round pick in 2026 and a fifth-rounder in 2027. Dallas, on the other hand, received Pickens and a sixth-rounder for 2027. That's the breakdown. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Why do we care? It's the Steelers and the Cowboys. But this is the NFL offseason, and a move like this sends shockwaves that extend far beyond the teams directly involved. Now, let me tell you something personal. I've never been a fan of either franchise. Growing up in Pennsylvania, the Steelers were always in the conversation, always in your face, and it got old fast. And my disdain for the Cowboys, let's just say that runs deep. But here we are in a situation where those two organizations pulled off a high-profile trade, and the Raiders, well, we need to assess where we stand compared to them. Because let's be honest, they've been generating more buzz this month, and even in terms of YouTube subscribers, we've got some ground to cover. So if you're rocking with the silver and black, make sure you're subscribed because we've got to close the gap. Back to business. Let's unpack the Pickens trade and what it might mean for us. First off, George Pickens is a talented receiver. No one denies that. The guy has elite hands, great body control, and a knack for making big plays. But let's not sugarcoat it. He's also known for his personality, which can be a challenge in some locker rooms. That might have played a part in the Steelers deciding to move on from him. But the moment I saw the trade details, two things popped into my mind, and both directly involve the Raiders. First, with Pickens out of the Steelers' picture, it leaves them needing a wide receiver. That's not speculation, it's fact. And I immediately thought, are the Raiders about to get a call? Could Pittsburgh be interested in someone like Jakobi Meyers? I remember the rumor from a few months back. Someone close to the Steelers organization mentioned that Meyers was on their radar. It wasn't a hot story at the time, but now it makes a whole lot more sense. Sure, the Steelers just traded for DK Metcalf, that's the word at least. But having a guy like Jakobi as your number 2 makes perfect football sense. He's physical, dependable, and smart. That's the kind of receiver that fits right into the Steelers' gritty identity. And let's not forget, outside of teams like the Bengals who already have elite wideouts like T. Higgins, Jakobi would instantly upgrade any receiver room in the league. Now, if I'm in the Raiders front office, I'm not just wondering whether the Steelers will make a call. I'm asking whether we'd even answer. Do we entertain trade talks for Jakobi Meyers? Do we even pick up the phone? It's a tough situation, but here's another angle. If Pickens gets a sizable contract in Dallas, that sets a precedent. It raises the market value for guys like Jakobi, and that could complicate any upcoming extension talks. It's like a domino effect. You see one deal go down, and suddenly your player's agent is saying, well, if he got that much, then we want more. That's the business side of football, and it can get messy real fast. And that brings us to another critical point. Maxx Crosby. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. The Raiders need to lock down Maxx Crosby before the Browns lock up Myles Garrett. If Garrett signs first, that could shift the entire salary landscape, and Crosby's price tag will only go up. It's a race against time, and the Raiders will be wise to get that extension done before Garrett puts pen to paper. Otherwise, we're looking at a much more expensive negotiation down the line. Now let's talk about contracts a bit more, because there's this growing sense that a couple of key players are nearing extensions, or at least should be. There's one player, not going to name names yet, who reportedly isn't pushing hard for a new deal just yet. The word is he wants to prove himself as a WR1, raise his stock, and then cash in big in free agency next season. That's risky, but it's a move we've seen before. On the flip side, there's another player, also with no guaranteed money, left on his deal, who's apparently much more open to negotiating right now. And honestly, the Raiders should strike while the iron is hot. Get the deal done. Silence the rumors. Show your fans you're serious about building a stable, competitive team. You want to end speculation? Offer the man a 2-year extension today. Structure it smartly. Make sure it lines up with the current roster plan. Maybe fit it into a 3-year window with real guarantees. The number floating around for this type of deal puts the player near the top of the pay scale for his position. Not quite elite tier, but solidly in the upper echelon. Now, it might look like a hefty deal today, but fast forward a couple of years and that same contract could be a bargain. That's how these things work. Today's top 5 salary is tomorrow's 15th. It's all about timing and market movement. And let's not forget that this guy we're talking about is criminally underrated. Around the league, players and coaches know his value, but the national media doesn't always catch on. That's fine. What matters is that the Raiders recognize his worth and get something done before another team sees an opportunity. Because believe me, if they sense weakness, they'll make a move. And the last thing we need is another team trying to poach one of our core pieces. There's also some buzz about another player possibly wanting an extension too. And that could shift the priorities inside the building. New front office, new approach, and with a fresh batch of rookies coming in, including 3 wide receivers, people are going to start asking questions. Are we planning to move someone? Are we clearing space? It's all speculative, but in the NFL where there's smoke, there's often fire. So I want to hear from you on this. Who do you think gets extended first? The lineman or the receiver? If you think it's Kolton Miller, drop a KM in the comments. If you're riding with Jakobi Meyers, go with JM. Let's get the conversation going because these are the types of moves that shape the direction of a franchise. Timing is everything. The mandatory minicamp starts June 10th, so that's the real deadline here. And the rookies begin reporting May 9th. That's just around the corner. I'm leaning toward Kolton Miller being the first to get inked. He's a cornerstone on the offensive line, and from what I've seen in the off-season workouts, the guy looks locked in and happy. That usually means something's cooking behind the scenes, but still, the clock is ticking. There's room. Under the salary cap. There's no excuse for dragging this out. We don't need contract distractions heading into camp. Both players are vital to the success of this team in 2025, 2026, and even 2028. If we're being real about the window here, let's get it done. Now, let's pivot to the other major storyline today, the rumors surrounding Christian Wilkins. I know this has been floating around for a while now, and I held off talking about it until I got some real information from people I trust, and thankfully I did. Christian Wilkins reportedly suffered a foot injury, more specifically a Jones fracture, back in week 5 of last season. He had surgery on October 8th, and for a guy of his size, that's a tricky recovery. But here's the good news. All signs point to him being ready for week 1. He's been working out, staying in shape, and there was no red flag until recently when a certain outlet dropped a report claiming his recovery might not be going as planned. Now let me be clear, this report came from a source no longer tied to the organization. That doesn't automatically discredit it, but it does mean we need to take it with a grain of salt. The claim was that Wilkins might not be ready and could even need another procedure. That's a big deal. But after doing some digging, talking to players and others close to the team, I've been told that there's no reason to panic. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Las Vegas Raiders, and don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In a move that has sent shockwaves through the NFL, star linebacker TJ Watt has officially parted ways with the Pittsburgh Steelers and signed a blockbuster deal with the Las Vegas Raiders. The stunning transfer ends Watt's storied tenure in Pittsburgh, where he emerged as one of the most dominant defensive forces in recent memory. The Raiders secured Watt with a mega contract, signaling their intent to become serious contenders in the AFC. Sources close to the negotiation confirmed that the deal makes Watt one of the highest paid defensive players in league history, reflecting his elite status and game-changing ability. Known for his relentless motor, explosive pass rushing skills, and uncanny ability to disrupt opposing offenses, Watt has been the cornerstone of the Steelers' defense since being drafted in the first round in 2017. During his time in Pittsburgh, he earned multiple Pro Bowl selections, was named Defensive Player of the Year in 2021, and consistently ranked among the league leaders in sacks and tackles for loss. Watt's departure marks the end of an era for the Steelers. His leadership on and off the field made him a fan favorite and a respected figure in the locker room. Pittsburgh now faces the challenge of rebuilding a defense that heavily relied on Watt's presence. The decision to let him walk shocked many fans and analysts, but it appears the Raiders' offer was too lucrative to pass up. In Las Vegas, Watt joins a franchise hungry for success. The Raiders have been aggressively building a roster capable of making a deep playoff run, and Watt's arrival injects immediate star power and veteran experience into their defensive unit. Paired with emerging talents and seasoned veterans, his presence is expected to elevate the Raiders' pass rush and bring a new level of intensity to their defense. For Watt, the move represents a fresh start and a new chapter in his already illustrious career. As he prepares to don the silver and black, all eyes will be on Las Vegas to see how far this bold acquisition can take them. One thing is certain. With TJ Watt on board, the Raiders' defense just got a lot scarier. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Las Vegas Raiders, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.